One final piece of video before we go for lunch. And this is a great pleasure because I caught up a couple of weeks ago with somebody who, until very recently, actually was in charge of coordinating all this conference. There he is on the right. It's Mike Garrett. That was back in 2012, I think. And the people on the left of that aren't giving him the thumbs down because they think he's not very good. It was actually a fundraiser he was doing with thumbs up for the answer being one thing, thumbs down for the other. So Mike ran the conference for years before the pandemic, and he was then diagnosed with idiopathic ataxia a few years ago. And we're going to talk about his journey with ataxia and also some of the treatment, the drugs that he's getting, because now, and only very, very recently, did he find out which particular form of ataxia he has. And we'll find out why that is so important. But I started off by asking Mike to tell us a little bit of background to his journey with ataxia.
Do you know that the answer to that, Paul, is that that's been a long journey since almost 2008.
Well,
Constantly checking what it is that is causing my disturbance to the way I coordinate, to the way I walk, the way I talk, but more importantly, in terms of the sport I play. And it's been a general decline since then, to the point of it's a bit like losing your car keys. You can't switch off. You think, where have I left them? Where are they? Even though you may know you never find them or you've changed your car, you still need to know. So the importance of the diagnosis, I hadn't realized until it was diagnosed just how important that was. And to have some diagnosis that it's SCAR 27B has well, it just takes a lot of the strain and the pressure away because you know you found your car keys. And my mum has the same issues, and for her to have a diagnosis as well has been brilliant.
but having the diagnosis and having the specific scar identified, um, how difficult a journey was that for you? Were people willing to go the extra mile to find out which particular scar, or were you getting fobbed off?
I think every specialist does their best to try and help you find that what the problem is. So I think I've seen every ologist under the sun, from cardiologists, endocrinologists, kinesiologists, and they all go, I wonder if it's this. But then they go, well, good news, it's not cardio. So you go, thanks very much, but I still haven't found what the problem is. So that's the journey of going to lots of specialists, and then being told, no, it's not what this is. Until you get to somebody who suddenly says, oh, I think it could be you've got ataxia symptoms. So what's that? And then you go on the journey of doing the 100,000 genome. Is it genetic? Is it episodic? Is it spinocerebellar? So you know you've got ataxia, but you don't know what type it is. And everyone's really helpful, but they just don't know the answer.
And of course, you and I met through ataxia. You were working with ataxia before you had any symptoms and certainly well before any diagnosis. I suppose irony is a word we can use, but it seems almost unbelievable that you were attracted after 30 years working in industry to work with a charity and end up, against all the odds, having that particular symptom and disease.
Yeah, the word is ironic, isn't it? Yeah. And it's ironic that I'm now recording my story for the conference where I used to organize the conferences and interview people to get their story. So, yeah, there's a lot of irony about Paul.
Well, one of the things you and I have seen over the years, we've seen advances in all sorts of ways in the way that even GPs are now more aware of ataxia, the way that we have more knowledge of ataxia, the way that the world, the ataxia world globally has come together. And one of the differences that have been made, Mike, is that whereas in the past, probably when you and I joined, you could only do a test and identify one form of ataxia, one scar. No, it's not that. Let's go on to the other. No, it's not that. Could take years. But
Yeah.
now it's important to let people know that if they were diagnosed years ago, do it again because things have moved on and you can test for so many different scars now, can't you?
Absolutely. And it's developing all the time. I mean, the SCAR 27B, I think was only discovered a couple of years ago in Canada. So to send my bloods off to Canada for testing um, came back brilliant. I mean, that's still rolling out, and I'm not sure exactly where they are on that, and it's still in trial and development stage. But you're absolutely right. Things are changing all the time, and that's one of the brilliant things, you know, with all the research that's going on internationally, not just in Ataxia UK. And they come together with the conferences, international conferences, and share learnings. So it's brilliant.
So the SCAR 27B that was identified for you, did that come about as part of general testing? Was this part of a research project? What?
Um, I, I went to see Marius in Sheffield because one of the tests I did was it gluten ataxia. So Marius being the expert up there. So Marius had a routine yearly checkup with me and said, "Come on, Mike, let's come on." Marius, do I really need to go again? It's a long way to Sheffield. And he said, "Yeah, come on, come on." So he just said, didn't say an awful lot, but took the bloods again and thought, I think Mike's symptoms could be SCAR 27B. Sent the bloods off to Canada and came back and said, yeah, I think that's what you've got. And it's very likely that's what your mother's got as well. And you mentioned that things are developing all the time. The genetic testing is growing all the time. They can now do far more genetic tests. So whereas earlier there was no link between what I had and what my mother had, now they're going, ah, yeah, we found that it's this SCAR 27B.
It's incredible. And having that SCAR 27B identified obviously affects the medication that you would get. So having that diagnosis then and getting specific medication, what difference has that made to your life? What's the after compared with the before diagnosis?
Um, the before, oh, well, before I had ataxia, my social life was geared around sport. So I played a lot of tennis, badminton, squash, football, skied, and all that. And then, of course, you get the ataxia kicking in, and that generally goes. So before the SCAR 27B, I'd virtually packed up all racket sports, um, and that affects your social life as well. So I ended up just going swimming on my own, which was very boring. I hate swimming. But now the medication has made an impact. I'm back. So I'm back playing tennis, and the world has kicked on again.
Important though to say the medication you're having is specific for you. It's specific for the SCAR 27B. We're not saying that everyone out there with ataxia can have this magic bullet, are we?
No, certainly not. And it's still in the trial basis. So it's not being rolled out wildly. So yes, it's not the magic cure for everybody, but
Mhm.
and there are side effects to some people. I haven't had them, although some sort of tiredness creeps in, and the impact of it wears off a bit over time. But I'm still in a much better place now than I was before taking the medication.
Mm. We've spoken, I guess, about how getting the diagnosis and knowing the specific scar, the difference it's made to you in your life. What difference has that drilling down and finding exactly what it is that's causing your movement problems and all the experiences that you had? What difference has it made to your family?
Um, I don't think the family quite understand. They know that dad's a bit wobbly and he might fall over occasionally. And don't give him 2 beers because he's going to be a nightmare to stand up. Um, so I think in some respects they've been very supportive without fully understanding. I think my mum always used to say, "All my friends don't understand. I'm just making a fuss." So I think having a diagnosis actually goes, I know what he's got now, and we can deal with that rather than some vague, well, he's a bit wobbly. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of all this, at the end of the journey where you've discovered that something's wrong, you then discover it's ataxia, and then you find out which particular form of ataxia. At the end of it all, what would be life message, experience, whatever that you would want to pass on to the people at the conference watching this?
Um, well, it's the first thing is if you can get a diagnosis, that is so important because you know where you stand. The second thing is I'd lived with ataxia once it was being diagnosed as a form of ataxia. I could live with that because I had some description, even though it wasn't a proper diagnosis. But I think my message is don't give up hope because the developing of medication, understanding is growing all the time. And don't give up hope that we will find a cure for ataxia.